I'm okay.
Bible upon Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem.
I think the wood shoes, that's the point.
The blessing of the Feast of the Tabernacles. Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalan Kag, Hasakwa, Bashalah, Amun. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the Feast of the Tabernacles in peace. Thank you, so be it. For I am Ma'ad Asherayim Akkad, Psalms 121. Anya Harayim Ayanyam Ya Oh Harayim Ma'ayan Yabawa'a Isaiah Yabawa'a Ma'yahawa Shai Shamayim Wa'arataza La'a Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yala'a Yanawam Shashamarka Hana La'a Yanawam Wala Shan Shashuma Yashrala Yahweh Shemaya Yahweh Tazalia Ayel Yad Yanyam Yamam Hashemash Hakaya Wairak La'a Balayala Yahweh Yashamaria Makam Rai Yashamar Napasha Yahweh Yashamar Hawalakia Wabawa'aya Ma'aitha Wa'ai Iwalam Bahasham Yahawasha Kawada Aman.
Psalm 121. Out of the hills, from whence cometh my help, coming from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that slumber, behold, he that keeps slumber, no. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yashrela, hear, O Israel. Shema Yashrela, Yahweh, Shema Yashrela, Yahweh, Yahweh, Shema Yashra, Yahweh, Allah, Yahweh.
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen. Amen.
Tabi Yinawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Yah, Yahmalak with Ka, Taba Atazawanka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Nathalanawa, Lakamawum, Za, Wasalakanawa, Kababathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kababathanawa, Wala'a, Habiyanawa, Oh, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Wata Pa'arath, La'ailam,
After this manner, therefore, pray, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us, for thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Shiramatazawat, the Ten Commandments. La'a, Yahaya, Laka, Alahayim, Akariam, Alpanyat, Da'asha, Laka, Paso, Wala'a, Da'ibadum, La'a, Shomawa, Alahayaka, Lashwa, Kar, Ath, Hayawum, Hashabath, Lakodashwa, Bad, Abiyaka, Wa'amaka, La, the Sana'at, La'a, Daganab, La'a, Da'aina, Shakur, La'akamad, Asherah, La'ra'aika, Amen.
Exodus 20:2. I am the Lord thy God, which I brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandment. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and holiday. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. Shabbat, be seated. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Par Yahagapin, Thwada Amun, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ath, Yasha'ala. Jerusalem, stand and face. Barakatha Yahweh, Hagadol, Rakawam, Wanara'a, Alayawan, Show, Wa'arataza, Wako, Dabarim, Kayayam, Wagum, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Arawanawa, Ahabnawa, Apalah, Yawa'itiza, Yahawashah, Zakaranawa, Yabarataza one, Yasha'ala, Banasa, Yasha'ala, O, Nanawa, Aitha, Kayawamim, Makwadam, Baba Kusha, Shalat, Mayaka'ala, Wahataz Wadat, Alahayim, La, Maganawa, Rapanawa, Washamar, Alnawa, Ba'akwar, Shalat, Aroka, Shai, Lanawa, Lalamanawa, Rabim, Kakama, Tabawana, Wada'aith, Shal, Bahasham, Yahawada, from Yad, Wa'iwalam, Aman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power and earth, and all things living, the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers of angels to protect us, heal us, and watch. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you always and forever. So be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the law. Barakah for Yahweh. Bahashirah and Atharah. In the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us light to see. Barakah for Yahweh. Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Shirah. Athalanawa. O war. Bara'awah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the ram song to call the people. Asherah, Athalanawa, Koran, Ha'ayal, La Korah, Ha'ain. Yeshua, you see that. Is it getting stuffy in it? Is it getting warm and stuffy in it?
That's a good phrase.
Huh?
That's a good phrase.
It's a little warm.
You turn the air on.
No, you can't hear. What's that? Oh, the last time they had that door open, that back door open. All right. Shalom, Yashala. Peace and blessings to all the brothers and sisters, those also watching on the teleconference, and those soon to be dialing into those watching on the live stream, and those soon to be dialing on the teleconference line. We say, Shalom Israel, happy feast of the Tabernacles. So joy is one of the days that the Most High has given us as a remembrance for the experience and things that we went through in the past, and then fast forward to the things that even what happened during the time of Yahushua and what it spiritually and symbolically means to us moving forward as we even come out of this other second wilderness that we're in right now. Right? So, as always, we like to go through the scriptures. I know during today's Sabbath service, there was a few bars for the day itself, actually pertaining to it. We got been up and going over these things, a Tuesday class to go through certain things that are basic instructions or understandings pertaining to our nation. The high holy days is one. We have a new moon list, we have a high holy day list, and you should be able to go through them with understanding so that it could be a part of you, like how it was when it was in the world, how we knew all of the man-made holidays that was pagan, right? So due to time, I think it's almost 11. We want to get into some scriptures and still be able to have time to feast, but I want us to get the spiritual meat first as well. So we're going to start off as usual in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter and the 33rd verse. Brother Gabar, if you could read that with a strong voice. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter and the 33rd verse.
All right. Everybody say calm when they got that. Okay. Leviticus 23 and 33.
Right.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the fifth of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days.
All right. So now the Most High has given us another high holy day in this 7th month. We started off with what? What was the first high holy day we started off with in this month? Zakar.
Atonement.
No.
Blowing the trumpet.
Memorial blowing the trumpets. That's a good alley-oop Gabar gave you there, right? Memorial blowing the trumpets, right? The second one was what?
Atonement.
Day of Atonement. The third one is what? Feast of the Tabernacles. That's why we're here tonight, right? Mm-hmm. So now we had the 1st, the 10th, and now the 15th day, where the Most High is now giving us a commandment where we now all need to come together, right, to keep a feast for 7 days unto the Most High, starting from the 15th day, right? Tabernacles. Why is it called the Feast of Tabernacles? Why did he call it the Feast of Tabernacles? What happened to Israel? What was going on with Israel that we now have a memorial of the Feast of Tabernacles? In this same chapter, we went through the Passover, right? What happened after the Passover? What happened with Israel as a nation? What did we do? We was in the wilderness. But before we went through the Red Sea, crossing through the Red Sea, we entered into the wilderness. There's different wildernesses that Israel migrated through. We read that today in the Sabbath service. One wilderness and then went to another wilderness by Sinai and then met the Most High at the mount. So we was in the wilderness. So now if we leave in Egypt, we had places to dwell in. But now you leave it in the wilderness, where are you going to sleep? Where would you sleep? On the ground or where else?
The tents.
The tents. There you go. Because the tents, booths, tabernacles are all the same thing. This is what Israel dwelt in when we was wandering in the wilderness. Hold this, Gabar, and go to Exodus, the 33rd chapter. Exodus, the 33rd chapter The 10th verse.
Okay, Exodus chapter 33, verse 10.
Right.
And all the people saw the cloudy pillar stand at the door. And all the people rose up and worshiped his tent door.
Every man in his what?
Tent door.
His tent door. Every man that was in the nation of Israel at that time in the wilderness had their own tent or booth or tabernacle. It's the same thing. Change. It'll say the Feast of Booths or the or you see tents. This is every man was standing at his tent door, looking at the tabernacle, looking at the cloudy pillar as it came and descended upon. I wanted to use this as a point of reference for the what? Tent door. So now let's go back to Leviticus 23. Leviticus 23 and verse 34 again.
Speaking to the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles with the Lord.
Come on.
On the first day shall be a holy. You shall do no several work therein.
So on the first day is a holy convocation. What does it mean by a holy convocation?
You know, work on that day. It's a Sabbath.
Well, that's the second part about doing no work. But when it says it's a holy convocation, what does that mean? Yeah, you can't be working, so you got to be there, right? So if it's a convocation, you're not at work, you're here. But what's the significance behind it being a holy convocation?
Yeah, the rest of the day.
It's a Sabbath day. But what is the significance about it being a holy convocation? When it's a holy convocation, there's certain stipulations the Most High has given us as a nation. For instance, you can't be unclean at a holy convocation, right? If you was at war and you was killing people, you had blood on your hands, you couldn't show up convocation, right? You had just had up to the holy convocation. You just had a child, you can't show up to a holy convocation. You had a blood that was protruding out of your body consistently. It just couldn't stop. It didn't clot. You could not show up at a holy convocation. If you went to a funeral for a period of time, you couldn't show up at a holy gathering. So the Most High had to keep separate all things that's not righteous in order to be at that gathering. This is what he instituted. So there's in various different chapters about these laws can and cannot show up to the church or to the gathering of the nation.
Convocation means being clean.
Convocation does not mean, convocation means gathering. When you convocate, you come together. But the holy part, that's what you was trying to get to as far as for being clean. Physically and definitely most important, because remember, we was reading earlier in the day about how the Most High got on Moses about sanctifying the people with his name, right? To sanctify means to cleanse. You want to be cleansed or clean those other wicked endeavors. When you show up to the high holy day, you don't want to show up with burdens on your heart or your chest. You want to be free from that to the Most High, right? So read on again in 35.
On the first day shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no several work therein.
Right, so you're not supposed to do any work for hire therein. Servile work for hire, if it all be possible. So that's again why it's important when we give out the high holy day list to be able to now see what days these high holy days fall on. The first and the last days, especially for those weeks, and get off from work. If it all be at times you may now have just started a new job and they may not give you those times off. They dictate what days you have to be there, or be off. So you use that with a measure of grace, but the things that's in our control and our power, provisions to be here for the Most High. Okay? Read on. 36.
36. 36. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. They shall be a holy convocation unto you. And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work there.
Right. So for 7 days, the offerings were made this week. So it's a feast, festive period, and offerings were given to the priests before the Most High every day, right? And then it said, now it's going to also be a holy convocation unto you. And then there's going to be another special that's going to be made. So you read about these in the book of Numbers as far as for the offerings pertaining to the sacrifices for these days, but specifically the 9th chapter that goes into the tabernacles, but we're not in that period, in that time where we have the temple set up, we have the Levitical priesthood set up where we offer these offerings. The Most High knew that this would now be an occurrence where that would be destroyed or taken away, so Yahushua became the ultimate sacrifice for all of these things. Now we still come together to commemorate and celebrate those days. So it says 7 days, then it said 8 days, right? First day is a holy, the 8th day is a holy convocation. No servile work on either day. It just so happens that for those of us who work on a normal work week, the feast is on a weekend, right? So it may not interfere with your work schedule where you don't have to use a PTO day or a vacation day. But for some of us who do work on the weekends, you now have to go and try to negotiate those days off, right?
Right.
Verse 37, read.
These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations.
So stop. So when brothers is questioning and scratching their head and saying, wait, that's tonight, right? We should have been, or we should have already been in the spirit of proclaiming, dang, the tabernacles is coming up. I remember there was a spirit for those of us from back in the day. There was a big spirit at all the feast days. Why? Because everybody was gearing up, got a new garment. Yo, you get a new garment. Oh, I got to get mine ready. I got to get this ready. It was a vibration that went out way before the feast day came up. Now we just catching up. Now it's like, oh, word, I didn't even know. It shouldn't be that way. We wasn't dealing like that in the world. We didn't deal like that with Christmas. We didn't deal like that with Thanksgiving. So when I heard this today, it was like, dang, now we should be on point to at least know when it's showing up and not be caught off guard. So read that again.
These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations.
Come on.
To offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything upon his day.
Right, everything according to like how we read in Numbers the 29th chapter, for the offerings made on the 1st all the way to the 8th day. Read.
38. Besides the Sabbaths of the Lord, and besides your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which ye give unto the Lord.
Right, so the offering was already in the law as far as for what offered. But then during the same period of time, we came with what? Gifts, free will offerings, and we made vows unto the Most High of certain things we wanted to do, right? Now we know nowadays we have to be real careful with vows that you make with the Most High, because those are things you just can't break. Once you make that vow with the Most High, is holding that to the death. Like you have to come through what you're going to be held accountable. But give your free will offerings or gifts to the Lord, meaning he's not physically handing it to the Most High, but you can say, you know what, I got this. Oh man, we need a new microwave in the school. I'm going to go out and buy one in the school. You're donating to the school, but it's as if you're donating it to the Most High because you're doing this of the Most High. It's the same thing what we did back then. We gave it to the priests, and the priests did what they needed to do with those things. All right. So you give gifts or you give free will offerings, right? Things that you probably had of your own, whether it's monetary or whether it's victuals or what have it may be, you donated that to the Most High during the time of the feast. Read.
39. Also, in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the first day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day
So this is almost like it's a double high holy day, right? Because the first one you read about, this is going to be a Feast of Tabernacles, right? And it went into what we were going to do. Then it comes and says, also on the 15th day, right, of the 7th month, when you have gifts. So you'll hear two different names for this same day: Feast of Tabernacles, booths of tents. But then you'll also hear the Feast of Ingatherings, right? When it comes to the end of the harvest year, when you now have to gather in all your crops, right? Now this is going to be commemorated as a holy convocation, also as a secondary aspect on this day, right? So it says the first day should be a Sabbath and the 8th day should be a Sabbath. So they both work hand in hand. So as you dwelling in your booths, you still going out there and reaping the last of the crops of the harvest year, right? Read.
verse 40. And you shall take the first day the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and boughs of fig trees, and willows of the brook, and ye shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days.
So now what did you normally see people do with these brooks and boughs and thick of the brook? What did they normally do with it? Build a tent or a booth. You'll see them build the structure and they'll put the willows on top of it. They'll take the palms and lay it on top as a cover, right? So this is now where you went and got in the rest of your crops, but you also went and took these branches, you took these boughs and then used them for the building of your tabernacle, right? So the Most High had them go both hand in hand, arm in arm. Read on.
And you feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it.
Right. So it says, "He shall keep it a feast unto the Lord 7 days in a year." So even on this ingatherings, there was something specific that went synonymous with the tabernacles. Those were days. And then on the 8th day was something else that happened. But the 7 days is what he's honing in on right here. Right? Why is it saying just the 7 days? Read verse 42.
Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelites dwell in booths.
So it says the days you're going to dwell in booths. What about the 8th day? Because we read the same thing earlier where it says 7 dwell in booths. What about the 8th day? Again?
You can come out the booth.
You can come out the booth, right? Because he didn't say you're going to dwell in the booth for 8 days. He just said 7 days, right? And then on the 8th day, you come out, right? Now, we probably won't get it this week. We'll wait until next week because the 8th day, when you read it in the New Testament, is called that great day, right? It's like a big event when you come out. Now, is what that's like, right? You currently are sleeping in a booth or a tent. You have your own structure, your own bed, your own house and things that's there, and you living out in the tent. You living out in the booth. Guess what you also dealing with? You burn the elements because it may be pouring raining out there. Guess what? You have to deal with that, right? It may leak through your booth. If you didn't structure it the right way, it may start leaking. You got to start going and fixing it up, and you dealing with it, right? It may be a little nippy out there depending on where you are. You dealing with it. And then you are able to come out there booth and you like, oh man, this is great. I'm going back into my normal regular house. So when you put that together with what we're in right now, we're still in like the wilderness, dwelling in booths, because this is not our rest. This is not where we're going to actually put our rest at. Our rest is going to be back in Jerusalem, back in Israel. So when we come out of here for dwelling in these type of tabernacles, when we get there, it's going to be a great and glorious day all over again. But this is the rehearsal. So this is why the Lord had us go through that for 40 years, and then he commemorated it so that we can always remember year by year what happened to us back then, and then go through the same effects of it here today in these last days. Now, we talked about that. Actually, I'm going to get a scripture that talks about it. I ain't going to get there yet. Read on. Read verse 42.
You shall dwell in booths 7 days, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths. When I brought them,
so now when I read this verse a long time ago, and I remember there was tension about when you read it in the when we read in the storyline, Exodus 12th chapter, going into when we came out of Egypt, about the mixed multitude that came out, right? And we was like, some saying, the mixed multitude, it was other nations that was there, right? So now here it is, when you read this part, the Most High is letting you know that, look, I made the Israelites to dwell in booths when they came out, or they came out of Egypt. All Israel got to do this. So where do we see in the storyline that it was other nations that was there dwelling in booths, or the Most High made the nations dwell in booths, right? If they was there with us, guess what they would have had to do? Dwell in booths, because they would have also, there was no sanctuary, there was no place of dwelling there. So as he's saying this, look, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths. Another place to go, but to stay in the wilderness. And it wasn't just the children of Israel, the other nations was there, but he's letting you know it was just them. When I brought them out of the land of Egypt, I am the Lord your power, right? So again, the scriptures kind of lines up and gives you more insight about certain events that may touch on what you probably were unclear about, all right? So read on.
44. And Moses declared unto the children of Israel the feast of the Lord.
Right, and Moses declared. So at this point in time, this is where we had all of our feasts recorded, right? Moving forward, we would have others, like the days of Purim, right? Like the rededication of the altar, right? The day of Judas, the day of Simon. We would have these other solemn feast days that come up. But at this point, this were the main feast days of the Most High when we were coming out of Egypt, going into Israel. All right? So now let's go to Ezra. The book of Ezra. Ezra's today in the Apocrypha. Now we're going to go into in the Bible. Ezra in the Bible. It was in the Apocrypha. Yeah, we're in the Bible now.
I was born in the
So the book of Ezra is the 3rd chapter, the 1st verse. Zakar, should see if you can read that Bible for sure.
You get what you said?
Ezra 3:1.
Okay. Y'all get it big time. We say 3-0?
3:1.
3-1. Ezra 3:1. Con? And when the 7th month was come, and the children of Israel were in the cities, the people gathered themselves together as one man to Jerusalem.
Right. So now this is when the Most High through the Spirit allowed Cyrus and Darius to allow Israel to go back into Jerusalem and to rebuild and repair. right? Repair the breaches thereof, and then now start to come back and set order within the nation. So it says on this 7th month, gathered together as one person, meaning they were all in one spirit, unified together to come and learn of the Most High. Read.
Then stood up, verse 2, then stood up
Joshua,
the son of
Josadak,
and his brethren, the priests, and Zerubbabel, the son of
Shealtiel,
and his brethren, and builded the altar of the God of Israel to offer burnt offerings thereon, as it was written in the law of Moses the man of God.
Right. So here are specific righteous men that the Most High had as leaders and chiefs to go and start rebuilding. And one of the main things that they're about to do is build the altar of the Most High in the temple, right? So the altar now was something that we would use to do the sacrifices for the Most High, right? That was one of the main things that we used that temple for, was to now go and do the sacrifices and offerings to the Most High so he could be things that we've done. Whether it was a sin offering, a trespass offering, a evil, all of these things were done by the priest in the temple. So this was a major thing that had to be reestablished. Read the next verse.
Verse 3, and they set the altar upon his bases, for the fear was upon them, because the people of those countries, and they offered burnt offerings thereon unto the Lord, even burnt offering morning and evening.
Right. So it says, and they set the altar upon his basis, upon his foundation. Right. Then it says, for fear was upon them because of the people of those countries. So now, as they're going back to Jerusalem, their neighboring countries or the neighboring nations that's there, they was a bit afraid, because they would have been the invaders. They would have been the enemies that come in to try to take them down. So as they're setting this up, they said, listen, we got to get this reestablished, right? Remember, during the time of the Maccabees, towards the end, the second, when we were trying to reestablish the temple, what did the brothers say? They said, look, we out here fighting for our lives, but we don't care about this. We don't care about our wives. We don't care about our children. We don't care about nothing as much as this temple, right? Because they knew that was, or we established that was our go-between between us and the Most High. If we don't have that temple to be able to offer up these sacrifices, to do what the Most High's will is, that the priests set their order up, we ain't in a good state. So they could come in and try to conquer us again. They could come and try to take us down. So we wanted to now establish this altar so that we can have the Most High to defend us and to back us, right? So that's why it says fear fell upon them of the people of those countries, right? Read the 4th verse.
Verse 4, they kept also the feast of the tabernacle. It is written, to offer the daily burnt offering by number according to the custom, as the duty of every day requires.
Right. So they went and offered, they kept the tabernacle according to the law that's written or prescribed from the past that you read about in Numbers, the 29th chapter. All right. So now, staying in the spirit of what these brothers did, go to the book of Nehemiah, the 8th chapter. Next book. Nehemiah 8 and 13. Kahan, I'll let if Kahan Yahweh Kanan can read that one. Baba Kashah.
Nehemiah 8:13.
8:13.
Nehemiah 8:13. On the second day were gathered together the chief of the fathers of all the people, the priests and the Levites, unto Ezra, the scribe, even to understand the words of the law.
Right. So they were the ones who are now the oracle to speak the Most High word. It says early in 8 and 8 that they read distinctly and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading. So here again on the second day, they're coming together to understand the words of the law. Read on.
And they found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths in the feast of the 7th month.
So now as they're going back and rehashing and remembering the things that was in the law, they say, oh, snap, look, we're supposed to keep this feast of booths in the 7th month, right? So they found that part in the law. You know how it is when you first come into the truth and you now got a certain desire to learn of the Most High. You start reading about things. You're like, oh, I never knew about this.
Right.
This is kind of interesting. What is this about? So Ezra and Nehemiah and the rest of the men are breaking this down the same way we're going through this tonight. So every other camp have gone through the same kind of clearly what it is he wants us to do. Read.
And that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go forth unto the mount and fetch olive branches and pine branches and myrtle branches and palm branches and branches of fig trees to make booths, as it is written.
Right. So they give you a little bit more distinction of types of branches that you can use. Before we read palms and willows of the brook. Now we got pine and myrtle and all kinds of thick trees that you can go and use to make your booth. Right. So in the other one, it didn't really just said just going to dwell in the tabernacles and then go and get these different types of branches. Now it's letting you know that the purpose for getting those branches was to make your booth. Right. So you can have an in-stock structure, but you had to cover it and overlay it with these different types of thick branches and boughs. Read verse 16.
So the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, everyone upon the roof of his house.
On the roof of his house. So now when you understand the structure of the roof of the house of Israel, it ain't like the roofs or the buildings that we have today. We didn't have these super duper high story buildings. We had a certain height level and it was flat, right? So that you can build a structure on top. Right, it wasn't like how you have these houses and they go out in the slant with the TP type structure. No, it was a flat structure that you can go and build your booth, if so be, on the top of your house. Read.
And in their courts.
And in the court. So if you had a nice property, you had courts or different areas where you can go and set something up over there. Right, like if you come out your house and you got a certain alleyway, like a driveway, someone set it up right there. Right, read.
And in the courts of the house of God.
So now even on the outside of the temple, you had Israel setting up their booths. So all over the place, everybody was setting up booths over here, on top of their houses, in that street, in that court, in that little yard over there is being all set up. And you got all kind of trees and boughs all over them. All right. So remember, this is at the end of the harvest year that we're doing this. So now we know we're about to go in the winter. So you taking this stuff and putting it on there, because you know the season is about to come to an end anyway, right? Read.
And in the streets of the water gate, and in the street of the gate of Ephraim.
So not just in the courts, not just in the houses, but in all the streets, right? It's like going down a street that you just see your cars usually parked and somebody got a booth setting up there. You ain't think nothing of it because guess what? You probably had one right next to them, right? Because this was the culture of our people. This is what all the nation of Israel would be doing. If you didn't have something set up, it would have looked weird. It would look off because everybody would be doing this. That's why it says they all came together as one person to do what? Hear his word, and then they went out and acted upon it, right? Read.
And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths and sat under the booths.
So now everybody made booths and sat under the booths, right? So like I said earlier this week, I seen it online. Hey, yo, Dick's got to sell. You know what? Let me go do this. Let me go set it up, right? Before I didn't have one, right? Because I was just a little lax. I didn't do forth the same thing that I'm saying. But we got to put forth the effort. So I said, let me go online and check it out. And just, whoa, they got a nice sale, right? So I'm going to go set mine up tomorrow. For those of us who don't have a court or a street, like I suggested earlier, set it up in your house, set it up in your apartment. They got a nice little small tent that ain't about big as that table that you can get in there and go through the experience of being under a booth or a tent. All you're going to see is just a tent. That's what you need to see. You ain't got to worry about seeing your ceiling on the lights and this, that, and the third. Set it up, everything. I was checking out the different camps and how they've been doing their stuff when they go out to the parks and they go out to the campsites and everything else. It's an experience because they do everything out there. They cook everything. It ain't like you're going to go and just your pancake. They cooking pancakes out there in the field. They go and they got their coolers and everything. That's an experience, especially for those of us who city folk. If you ain't country, if you ain't from, you know, the burbs or whatever, and you have never gone out to a camp. I did that when I was about 10 years old. My mother done put me in a camp and we went out there. That's the last time I ever did some camping type stuff, right? So for me, yeah, it's going to be weird hearing the doggone insects cricking and chicken and all that and hearing that silent. Yeah, I'm not used to it. But I'm reading this and I see that all Israel did this. So it's something that we can try to do, right? So if you haven't done it now, for the next year, plan, right? Plan. And I would say be wise and use this season because it's best to go and get things off season. Right now it's off season. That's why the things is on sale. Don't wait till the beginning of the summer when things now the prices get jacked up because it's going to be camping season time, right? Now get it right now as in the end of the season where they're not using it as much, and then you can have a little bit, you know, a little leeway on that. Read on.
For since the days of Jeshua, the son of Nun, unto that day, had not the children of Israel done so.
Right. So it's been a long while since the time of Joshua up until the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, they hadn't kept the tabernacles. They hadn't been so as a nation. That's a long while. And then it says what?
And there was very great gladness.
And there was very great gladness. So now you see that people came and had drawn back to the Most High. So this was a great thing, especially once you now have understanding or the will of the Most High and what he wants for us. That's a beautiful thing. Read.
Also, day by day, from the first day unto the last day, he read in the book of the law of God, and they kept the feast 7 days. And on the 8th day was a solemn assembly according unto the manner.
Right, according unto the law, according to what the Most High has instituted.
Yeah, I just want to it says also day by day from the first day unto the last day he read in the book of the law of the Most High. So sometimes people may skip, even though they shouldn't, skip a day of reading the Bible or the scriptures. Every day during this feast, you need to read in the law of the Most High. You all should get into a practice of every day, force yourself to read something in the scriptures, or break down something in the scriptures to somebody every single day. It's not easy for everybody to do that, but it's part of dealing with other people, but definitely read every day in the scripture.
This reminds me of like when we did the unleavened bread. It said every day we're supposed to be eating unleavened bread for the 7 days, right? And here it says for these 7 days or every day during this feast week, they read in the book of the law. And the difference between this is it wasn't that just every day. They all came together every day and was out there in the middle of the street, and those brothers was there reading the scriptures. So this is not just like you in your tabernacle or in your booth just sitting there reading. No, the whole nation went out together and the brothers broke it down distinctly so they can understand it, right? So imagine seeing that, a whole crowd and the brothers just stand up there breaking it down and this person raising their hand, this person raising their hand, it's like, oh, this is beautiful. And they leave and they go back. And then it's still a festive occasion, right? So on one hand, you getting taught, then you going out and you still preparing the feast, to cook, then you still making sure that you get all the stuff from the harvest, because this is the time of the ingatherings, right? That the Most High is now about to give you a good increase. Matter of fact, go to Proverbs. Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. Come. Proverbs, the 3rd chapter and the 9th verse.
I'll say, God. Okay, Proverbs 3:9. Honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruit of all thy increase.
So it says, honor the Father, right, with thy substance and with the first fruits of all thy increase. So the Most High started this during the first fruits, right? So because you went and took the first of your crops to go, not the first of your crops, but with the barley harvest, that was the first signifying moment of the harvest season coming in. Then later on, we then would go and take all those first fruits and go and give it to the Most High. So we honor the Most High first with our increase. Then it says, read the next one.
Verse 10, so shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine.
Because now, if you don't honor the Most High in the manner in which you wanted to be honored back then, what will happen is, when it's time for you to go gather in, you may not gather in. It may not be enough to get you through the winter, right? So you want to make sure, hey, I'm going to get a Most High his due up first, and then he hit me on the back end. That happens with a lot of things we do. We do things just because it's the spirit of righteousness of helping out our brothers, but in this case, it's giving the Most High back his own property. All of this is the Most High's. We're the Most High's, the crops are the Most High's, the money's the Most High's, everything is the Most High's, right? So if he say he want his stuff, what are you going to say? No, I'm going to hold on to this, right? He's like, look, if you give me back mine, I'll give you double back in the end of my own stuff, right? So again, so shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. So now let's go to the 23rd chapter of Exodus.
Mm-hmm.
23 and 14.
Okay, we got to do the same time. Second look at the gym. Oh, the first book?
So Exodus 23
14.
and 14.
3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year.
Keep reading.
Okay. Verse 15, thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I command thee. In the time appointed of the month, Abib, for in it thou came out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty.
And none shall appear before the Most High empty. So an offering had to be made. So on these 3 major high holy days, we always put a monetary donation on the 3 main high holy days. But it's not really 3, it's how many? It says 3 here, but this was at this time. How many is it really that we appear before the Most High? That we must appear before the Most High. It says 3 times shall you keep a feast unto me in a year. We named the first one, then we're going to go to the second one, and then the third one. But there was one more that was added on by the priests. Who remembers what that one was? I give you a hint. It's in the Apocrypha. What high holy day do we keep that's found in the Apocrypha?
The Passover?
That the history of the holy day is found in the Apocrypha. The history of Passover is found in Exodus.
What's a couple of holy days in Apocrypha? There are a couple of them.
There is, which main high holy day that's like this here. And the reason why is also added on as one of these main three. Mm-hmm. What high holy day that's found in the Apocrypha that we keep for the same amount of days that we're reading about right now? It's the second hint. So that wipes out the day of Judas, wipes out the day of Simon found in the Maccabees, because we don't keep those for 8 days. What high holy day we keep in the found in the Apocrypha for 8 days?
In the world, they keep theirs and we keep ours, right?
So for the sake, oh, you're gonna look at your list.
Feast of dedication.
Feast of the rededication of the altar, right? And the reason is because when you go into that high holy day, the brethren said, because we just came out of the Feast of the Tabernacles, right? From the fall high holy day, because we talked about spring high holy day, summer high holy day, fall's high holy day, which is what we're in right now, the Tabernacles. Then going into the winters, they kept the Feast of the rededication of the altar the same manner that they kept the Feast of the Tabernacles. So the same offerings was done on the Feast of the rededication of the altar, because they kept it in the same manner. They went and also had the same booths things set up. When it got the same thick boughs of the willows, of the pine and the palm and the myrtle, they did the same exact thing. So if you do the same exact thing for the tabernacles, for the dedication, now that is also a holy day that you now falls in line with this, that you can't appear before the Most High empty. So there's a monetary donation, and then there's the offering that you want to add on after that. So here it says 3 times in a year, but moving forward is really now 4. So now jump to the 16th verse. Who was that? He was a car?
Yeah. Question.
Con.
Why do they do the same thing?
Why did they do the same thing?
Yeah.
Because when they was looking for a manner and how to keep that feast, they say, when you read in 2nd Maccabees, they said, remembering that we just came out of the Feast of the Tabernacles, they kept it that manner. That was their decision. Right. So this is one of those things where the priest set and established up this holy day in the spirit of the Most High, right? Same way they set up the day of Judas, they set up the day of Simon. They said, listen, every year during this time, we're going to commemorate and keep this feast. We'll keep this day.
Verse 16.
Come.
And the feast of harvest, the first fruit of thy labor, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered and thou laborest out of the field.
Come. Exactly. So it says the feast of ingatherings, which is the end of the year. What does it mean when it says the feast of the harvest, which is the end of the year?
It really speaks for what it says.
Say again.
It is something good. Well, they're gonna gather together for the last feast, the last meal. Right.
What does it mean when it says in the end of the year?
Like the end of the year. The end of the crop.
Say again.
The end of the crop.
Yeah, Gabar.
The end of the crop.
The end of the crop or the harvest year, right? The end of the harvest year. Because you're harvesting all throughout the year, right? Starting from the barley harvest, then through the wheat harvest, then you go through the fruit harvest, then you come towards the end of the year, and that's it now. You're gathering all the rest of it, and that's it. There's no more for the harvest season. We're not doing much in the winter season, right? Even your animals, your flocks come in during the winter season. Your crops come into the barn during the winter season. So this is now the end of the harvest year, not the end of the calendar year, but the end of the harvest year during the time of ingatherings.
How do you know it's not the end of the calendar year?
Good question.
Say that again?
How do we know it's not the end of the calendar year?
But we're going by the food.
We're
Like
going
the
by
farmers, they know when to plant, and they know when the end of this time comes.
okay.
Let me break it down for you.
Yeah, that it needs to be because and his question
That was good what he said.
and his question about another holiday, let's say that this is the new year, right? This holy day signifies the new year. And you're like, wait, what do you mean how the new year began back during the time of the Passover? So how is this day now the new year? So then now you have the scriptures saying the end of the year. So how do we know this is not talking about the end of the calendar year and it's dealing with the harvest year?
Because it's not close to the Passover.
It should be something a little bit more easier.
It's simple answer.
Yeah, a little something a little easier. Because how do we know the feast days? What do we determine the feast days by?
Moon.
Okay. So if we determine the feast days by the moon, signifying the months, right? So now we're getting into the Feast of the Tabernacles, Feast of Ingatherings. What month is this holy day in? The seventh month. Is the seventh month the end of the year?
No.
Which month is the end of the year? The 12th month, unless it's a leap year and you had the 13th one.
See, I was going to say 12. I was going to say it's 12. What?
Right.
Okay.
So that's a I don't want to say it's a trick question, but it's one of those questions because of how Esau puts that vibration out there about what New Year's, and then you see the end of the year. You have to now make sure you put things together intuitively, right? Sometimes the Most High will give us certain verses, but it may not just explicitly say, see, this is not the end of the year because it's the seventh month. You would have already reasoned within yourself and say, well, this is the seventh month. How could it be the 12th month? How could it be the end of the year? Right? And then come to understand that this is dealing with the harvest. All right. So I'll get one more and save some for the closing. Let's go to 2 Chronicles.
Okay.
Actually. Second Chronicles. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to find the one where Most High speaks about when we keep these. Say again.
8 verse 13.
In what? Yeah, that's the one I want. Actually started at 12, but there was another one that was on the top of my head. I can't remember where it's at right now, where it talks about the 3 times in a year when you appear before the Most High. And when you do appear before the Most High, those 3 times in a year, He will defend you against all your enemies. The Most High will then fight for you where your enemies can't come up and do anything to you when you're coming up to see Him on those holy days, right? So you won't have to worry about, oh man, I'm about to travel through this country. Oh man, Moab or Ham or them might try to jump out at me. Nah, the Most High will make an easy passageway for you to attend those feast days. But I can't remember off the top of my head where that was.
So you say 8:13?
8 and 12.
8 and 12.
You know what king was ruled? You know what said?
I don't think it was in the king. I think it was prior to.
Okay, 2 Chronicles 8, 12.
Okay.
Then Solomon offered burnt offering to the Lord on the altar of the Lord, which he had built before the porch.
All right, so now this is Solomon after the temple was built. he went and made the offerings unto the Most High, and he's being found here on his porch. Read.
Verse 13, even after a certain rate, every day offering according to the commandment of Moses on the Sabbath, and on the new moon, and on the solemn feast, 3 times in the year, even the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles.
Right. So the Most High had the spirit on Solomon where this was done, and he was able to follow the same commandments that was given Moses to give to the nation of Israel for offerings on the Sabbaths, new moons, solemn feasts, right? And then the 3 times in the year feasts, right? So it mentions the solemn feast with those other feast days, but these are 3 main ones for the Most High.
Okay, the new moon, the solemn feast of 3 times in a year.
Exactly. Read the 14th verse.
And he appointed according to the orders of David his father the courses of the priests to their service, and the Levites to their charges to praise and minister before the priests, as the duty of every day required. The porters also by their courses at every gate. For so had David, the man of God, commanded.
Right. So David put things in order where he has certain men over certain things in the order or the worship of the Most High for these high holy days. Right. And all the offerings, you had a certain man, whether you were a porter or a priest or whatever, this was your charge. You were responsible for this being done. Right. So nobody could just say, Lex, who's taking care of this? Who's going to read that? Who's going to do this? Now, David already had all of that set up. You're going to do the service that day. You're going to make sure the people is in on the line. You're going to make sure the food of the offering is done. You're going to make sure that they're giving you all the animals that's supposed to be sacrificed. All of that was in proper order, right? So that there be no mistakes when it comes to the Most High's feast day, right? Now, I said that was the last one, but I found that verse. It's in Exodus, the 34th chapter.
34. Exodus 34. Come on, y'all, open it. We can learn this. We can read this to our friends. 34.
$34 and $23.
All right. When we get this, you want to give it to somebody else.
Kanabiya. Baba Kasha.
Well, that's it.
So everybody have it?
Go ahead.
Exodus 34 and 23. Thrice in a year shall all your men children appear before the Lord God, the God of Israel.
Right. So thrice in a year, men, children had to appear. Right. It was not saying that the women didn't have to appear. It said the men were obligated because the women had more likelihoods of probably being unclean during the menstrual or childbearing, but men had to be there. Right. Thrice in the year or 4 times in the year moving forward in the future. Read.
For I will cast out the nations before thee, and enlarge thy borders. Neither shall any man desire thy land. And thou shalt go up to appear before the Lord thy God thrice in the year.
Right. So when all this is going on during the times of these holy days, you ain't got to worry about the other nations. You ain't about to worry about them trying to come in and take your land, right? As you leaving to go up to Jerusalem or come to stop you on your way going. The Lord got you. The same way how he's always navigated and found the way for us to get to where we needed to be, especially to serve him. Look what he did for us coming out of Egypt. Listen, let my people go so they can come serve me. He made a way for us to come and serve him. Albeit you had a wicked root that was there in the wilderness, but the Most High weeded them out, right? And left the righteous root that would be able to come up and try to learn the ways of the Most High, right? So here it says thrice in a year. And when you read up, it still goes back into those 3 main high holy days. All right. So we're going to stop here and leave the rest for next week. So Lord's will, everybody got the scriptures, got the understanding. As always, if you do not have them, or you miss the understanding, or something is unclear to you, make sure you write them down, bring them up in the Tuesday or Friday classes upcoming. Lord's will, everybody has a joyous, happy occasion for this holy day, for this festival week. The first and last days, of course, is Holy Convocation Sabbath days. You can cook on these days, but don't do your normal business as far as for working or shopping or what have you, just for pleasure, right? Next Sabbath day, Friday sundown and Saturday sundown, as mentioned during the Sabbath service today, is a day that's allowed to cook. Offering that we did every day for the Most High. All right, so this is how Holy Week supersedes the normal Sabbath day. All right, it's still a Sabbath, but you can cook. So with that, we're going to say again, Ashar Kag HaSakawaf, happy Feast of the Tabernacles. Enjoy the day. If you can get if you can get booths, get them. Next week, Sunday night after sundown, Tuesday, Monday, but not tomorrow during the day. Right, because it is still a Sabbath. Right. So with that said, we're going to set up the closing prayers, feast amongst ourselves, and enjoy the night. And then we'll continue next week for the closing service. Shalom.
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 Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Parya Hagapin, Thawada Amun, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha'ala. I might go up on you, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Baba Kushal, Shamai, Lanawa, Aitha, Yum Yun, Aitha, Shalat, Mayaka'ala, Waha Alahayan, Tazmadakin, La, Shemar Barat, Rapa, Magun, Wahakaziyat, Banya, Yasha'ala, Washalat, Lanawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Rabiam, Da'ith, Rabiam, Bayana, Rabiam, Sabalanwa, Rabiam, Amawan, Rabiam, Aqua, Rabiam, Ahabiam, Rabiam, Hagana, Rakhanaya, Wasalat, Ko, Kata Ayamnawa, Laha'akim, Wa'akua, Wayasha'ala, Thamyad, Waiwalam, Bahasham, Yahawashai, from water, Amun. In the translation, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection. And forgive all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you. So be it. What corner's prayer? Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha'ala, Wabat Yasaparim, Shema, Yashrallah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, or the Most High, in the name of Christ, bless us in Israel and the house of books or schools. And then Deuteronomy 6:4, hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power. I'm going to see the blessing for the food. Yahweh, Gadawal, Bahasham, Arawanya, Yahweh Shai, Babakusha, Barak, Ma'akal, Yanawa, Shatayawa, Yanawa, Yayan, Yanawa, Lakam, Yanawa, Shakarai, Yanawa, Zakar, Shaw, Hasakawa, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Thawada, Amun. All right. So again, Shalom, Yashrala. Happy Feast of Tabernacles. Most High as well. Everybody has a enjoyable and festive week. Shalom. Most High as well will see you or hear you Tuesday night class. Shalom.
Shalom.